Welcome back to another drive. We are on update 2021.36.8.8 if you're not on the beta, or 10.5 if you are on the beta. And we're going to see today how many interactions I have. We're going to see how well it drives into these areas that we've tested out before in the past, heading out to my orthodontist appointment. So we're going to be seeing just how well it interacts in all these different interchanges. We're going to have some interstates to go on. We're going to just see again how many times I have to actually interact with the car. Also, I want to let you guys know that if you're in the market to buy some new accessories for your car, you've been waiting for the price to come down, that my video just came out a couple days ago of the more expensive items and the big, huge discounts that are being offered for the next couple days. So go check those out before the discounts go away. So now we're going through a part right now where we're behind this dump truck, and you know, it just so much of this depends on your preference when you're doing drives like this, because usually for me, I don't like being behind a dump truck. I've had 2 windows broken on this car from dump trucks, and if I can avoid being behind someone who, you know, shoots out rocks more frequently, I always try to avoid that. But the car is not going to make that distinction. It's going to always just do it based on speed and whatever your max speed is set at. So how this is set up here is I have a max speed at 36 or 38 miles per hour right now. You can see up there. The speed limit is 35. Now you can have it preset so that it automatically goes to a certain speed above the speed limit in your settings, or a certain percentage over the speed limit. Mine is set at the speed limit so I can adjust it manually myself. But what will happen is it'll only pass a vehicle if you're going under the max speed for a certain amount of time. Now to show you what my settings are for this drive, we go in here to autopilot, we go to customize autopilot. You can see my speed-based lane changes are mad max. This is talking about if you're actually going to be on the interstate, which we will be on. The exit passing lane, yes, it can get out of the passing lane. And then require lane change confirmation. I'm going to put my car in park, change that to no, approve that, put it back into drive, because I do not want to have to tell my car that it's okay to change lanes. I wanted to just do it as it sees fit. So here's a bit of a challenge that we're dealing with right now. We've got a lane here that's going to merge, and we need to let this van in. And so it needs to be polite there and let the car in. It's not tracking it because it's not red, but it does keep enough distance to let that car in. So that was really good. Now, in terms of the beta, I'm driving it on assertive mode, which means that it's going to be as aggressive as pretty much it can be in terms of rolling through stop signs, rolling through lights, you know, changing lanes quicker. It's going to be more aggressive. It's not like it's going to be like aggressive, but it's going to be the most aggressive setting. Right now we're going through a school zone, and you can see this light right here has stopped. In previous updates, stopped the car. Even when the light was out, when it was just flashing, it would still try and stop the car. But as you guys saw right there, it did not do that. So that's one upgrade that I saw in 10.5 that I think is really great. Now you can see there that the car just said, please pay attention to the road, which I was 100% paying attention to the road. I was just looking straight at the car in front of me. So that really sucks, because what happens is if you get a few of those, then you get kicked off the beta. And even if I sent this video footage straight into Tesla showing looking straight forward, it still won't matter. You don't want to get those notifications, and certainly not on the same drive. The biggest thing that Tesla's looking for on these drives in terms of kicking me out of the beta, in other words, if you're new to what I'm doing here, kicking me out of being a part of the full self-driving program, is if the car has to self-disengage itself and auto-disengage. In other words, it kicks me out of autopilot too many times. I think it's like twice on the same drive or twice in the same day. I forget what the rules are now, but if that happens too many times, you lose the beta. So it gets pretty hairy when that stuff like that happens, especially when that happens when you're not deserving it. But that just goes to show 10.5 is more sensitive to that. You really don't want to look at your phone or even the screen too long, which is probably what I thought I was doing there. I was looking kind of this direction, and it thought I was looking at the screen, and then it dinged me. So we're heading through town now here, and we have a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. Again, I'm going to adjust it up a couple. I like to go about 2 over the speed limit, 2 to 3 on average is kind of where I usually am. And we're going to be taking a left-hand turn up here and then a quick right, so we want to make sure it gets into all the right lanes. And so far, it's been pretty good. I mean, what we really really watch for on these updates is how the phantom braking, which is basically where the car, for a random reason goes down 1 to 5 miles per hour when there's no reason to, and it does it because it thinks there's something about to come into its lane. So here's a yellow light, and we're gonna hit the brakes pretty hard and stop for it. And again, right here, it's turning on my right blinker for whatever reason. I don't know why it does this. It always does this right here, and then it turns it off. Another one of those little weird things that happen. See, it's coming back on again here, then it turns it off. So I'm not turning right. I'll never be turning right off this road, but it does that. So start for the yellow light, which is good. Sometimes it just runs them if it thinks it can, which I like, and sometimes it doesn't. And this time it chose not to. So here's the green, car is gonna go. And again, if you're new to this whole program, anytime you see the steering wheel blue on my screen, that means I'm in autopilot, okay? That means that the car is driving. And anytime on this drive, when I say the words autopilot, I mean full self-drive. I don't mean your standard auto steer that comes in all Teslas. I mean specifically full self-drive, which is a form of autopilot. So the car needs to get over here, and it's gonna do that perfectly. And I really wanted to stay in this far lane, which it's gonna do really good. Last time I came through here, I got into the far left lane, which was wrong. So that was actually really good lane positioning. So we should be able to make this turn just fine. And now the blinker is going the right direction. All right, and here we go. Light is green. I wanted to stay in the far part of the turning lane here. And let's see how well. Oh, wow, perfect. That was absolutely perfect. And then we just need to merge onto this ramp right here to the right. It's doing a fantastic job. It's going to yield. Whoa, hit the brakes right there pretty hard. I didn't interact. I didn't hit the accelerator that time like I usually will do when I help it. It just hit the brake a little bit hard because I thought someone else was coming through, but it's doing good. And then look how fast it's accelerating onto this freeway here, or highway. It got up to speed very quickly, which that was really impressive. So now that we get onto an interstate, we're gonna switch into highway mode, which means it's gonna just basically drive with not on the beta. So you can see that the graphics completely changed, the screen shrunk. And now what it's gonna do for the next while is it's going to just navigate me around slower moving vehicles and then try to keep me in the driving lane most of the time. So now, because this is nothing really new, what I'll do is I'll come back on here if anything interesting happens. Otherwise, we'll just turn on some music and we'll get through this part of the road, the journey here. So now this is an example. I'll just jump in here and point out that I'm going 8 miles per hour under my max speed, which is set at 65. So I'm going 56 right now. Now I'm going 9 under. And the car has not changed lanes yet. So it doesn't always do it super aggressively. And again, my autopilot settings are set to Mad Max. So really it shouldn't let me go under the speed limit or under my max at all, which it definitely did there. So now right now is when the car has to decide, do I want to stay in the fast lane or get over into the slow lane? And so what the cameras are doing right now is they are watching what is going on with this vehicle right here, this truck and trailer. And if it thinks for a second that that truck and trailer is going the speed limit or faster than I'm going, it will get behind it. But because it sensed that we weren't and that we would eventually overtake it, it did not get us over into that lane. And what's going to happen here too is, I think it's more of a mapping issue, is it's going to eventually here stop me from being able to change lanes. So it's changing lanes, like right here, never should have gotten over. Radar would probably have never done that. That's just something that happened here. And so anyway, what's going to happen here now is we're going to get cut out here from behind this semi. So the car got me stuck behind that semi for a bit. But now that we've passed it or gotten back around, we'll get back up to speed again. So that's one of those things that the Tesla is going to have to constantly be working on, is just figuring out just really when and how to get around vehicles and when to get in and out of the fast lane a little bit better. And so you can see here that we've jumped onto the beta, and this is what I was talking about with that mapping issue, is that it now thinks we're on just a regular road, not on a highway. So it's going to act completely different because it thinks that we're on a main arterial, it's a main driving road. It's no longer thinking we're in the fast lane, we're just simply in a lane. And so it's not going to get over unless I manually tell it to. Now, I won't actually get over or make the car get over myself. What I'll do instead is I'll just tell the car to do it, and I can do that by just taking my hand right here on the indicator and just put on my right blinker. And when I do that, the car then will find itself over and change lanes into that lane, but it's not thinking it's getting into the driving lane, it's just simply changing lanes. And so eventually up here again on this road, what will happen is it's gonna realize, hey, we actually are on a highway, and it's gonna switch back. But you can see that it still says State Highway 18, like it actually says, like now we're changing lanes into the faster lane, but we're doing it on a main arterial road, and then it switches back to the highway. So the car the whole time knows we are on a highway according to the navigation, but for whatever reason there, a little bit, obviously it's a mapping issue. The cameras aren't making that distinction. So just, you know, one of those things that who knows if it'll ever be fixed, and it's not that big of a deal, but it's just something interesting if you're watching and wondering why the map is changing. We're at an interesting spot right here where the car has to make a choice. We're behind a slow vehicle. Okay, so it's going to make a change, and we are on the beta, so it does not think we're on the highway right now. We're going to pass this car, and then up here, the two lanes merge together. That was really impressive. On 10.4, I have never one time seen it actually do that, where it passed a car because it was going too slow on this area, this stretch of road. I was constantly just stuck over there in the slow lane or just the regular driving lane. So that was really impressive to see. I've noticed overall a lot of really big improvements on this update, and to be honest, like, there's been only one time on this drive, and of course it wasn't when the camera was on, that it hit the brakes a little bit harder, like I guess you would call it phantom braking. I was going just as I was entering onto a really rough bridge up there. Because pay attention to this. It is now pouring down rain outside. It's getting very difficult to see. Of course, it looks not nearly as bad on camera ever, but the car can see through it clearly. And this is where the autopilot system starts to make a lot more sense in terms of keeping you safe and being safer for you, is when you lose visibility yourself, but the car doesn't seem to have any issue with it. So it's going strong here, and we're heading into a bit of a town coming up here now, and so we're going to see how it interacts with this new location. We're going to have lights, we're going to have parking lots, and so we'll just see how this all goes. So there's our green light. Going to accelerate nice and smooth, nothing jerky going on there. So what we watch for in stuff like this is for it to come to a nice, relaxed, smooth stop here as well, which it did right behind a nice Model Y, a little white one there. My wife's got one of these coming. It's black on black though, everything is black. And what I'm watching for right now is to see when the car is going to just eventually kick off the autopilot system or the full self-drive system, because of this rain. It's getting thick enough now that, and there we go, so we ran through that yellow light, so that's an example of when it does run them, but it's getting thick enough now that it really could make a case for not being on it, because sometimes it does this. It'll just turn off when the weather is just not good to be safe. This is really made for good weather, the autopilot full self-drive. So I'm going to tell it now to get over into the right lane. I'm going to just, again, press the indicator, tell the car I want to get over. It's going to look, find a safe place, and then make its way over. See, poor weather detected. There it goes. There it kicks in. It says poor weather detected, navigating autopilot unavailable. And so now what that's basically telling me is that it'll keep me in my lane, but it's not going to be turning for me and finding its way out of any, corners or anything like that anymore. So, that's kind of a bummer. This happens to me all the time out here doing drives for you guys. There's lots of times I cancel drives because and videos because I just, in the middle of the drive, it just absolutely terminates. All right, guys, so you can see that autopilot just turned off full self-driving. It still is telling me that because the weather is not available. So now we are just on regular old auto steer that comes standard on all vehicles. So it's not going to be making a turn into my destination or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and end the video here. This is something that, is not limited by the camera's ability to read the road or anything. It's just a weather thing, so no disengagements on this entire drive. Drove me 38 miles here, other than when the weather kicked me off 1 mile from my destination. So I would say that's a very successful drive. So it kicked back on again right here. So actually, technically, it would take me there. So let's actually complete the drive here. Let me re-get the navigation going again here, and let's see if it can get me all the way there. We're getting close right now because I'd like to see it make a turn into the parking lot, which is actually pretty hairy. So it'd be nice to see it actually make that. But it's, this is something, there's a bit of a phantom brake right there. So I just pressed on the accelerator to help it through that. It's still wanting to brake. I don't know why. Okay, now it finally released itself. So for about I don't know, like maybe 100 feet there, it was fighting me, just did not want to accelerate at that moment. I don't know if it's because the camera's being so restricted from the weather, but it still is going. The Navigate and Autopilot is still running. I just really hope it makes it one more mile. Come on, one more mile. It's done so amazing. I mean, this is a drive where I could have gotten into the car, sat in the back seat, and it would have driven me all the way to the point where I lost it because of traffic, all on its own. If I was sitting in the back seat, that's where this drive would have gotten me. So very, very, very impressive in my opinion. And as someone who's sitting in the car experiencing it, you know, it was a lot of comfort. It was very little on this drive where I felt uncomfortable. Just a couple times where I hit the brakes a little bit too hard on that yield entering Highway 18. But other than that, it interacted with cars very well. It kept me in the right lanes that I needed to be in, and it was very polite. So yeah, I like it. It was a good drive. Let's see if we can get here. All right, here we are. We've made it to the light. Now let's see how we interact with it here. So here comes the slowing down, slowing down. There's no cars at the light. Last time there was a pretty steep car, but cars park all along the sides of the road. Blinker was on, turns perfectly into the center, and then gets over to the right side. That's good, keeping lots of space. Then we go right to the stop sign here. We're gonna be taking a left. You can see there's cars over here that are just all over, creeping forward for visibility. That's very good, very smooth. And here we go. Nice sharp turn there, good. And we gotta take a left right here. See how it does it. Stay to the far right, stay to the far right. Nice. Good job. All right, I'm gonna take over here and find a parking spot, and that's gonna wrap up this video.